Today I'm going to talk about the Get Wins course. That is the course that I just released last week. And before I get into the course specifically, let me tell you a bit about who I am and why I do these. If you're new here or you're watching this later on YouTube recorded, I teach drawing fundamentals in animation school, and during the past 6 months or so, I've been trying to bring that more to the internet to help out more people, increase my reach, that sort of thing. Um, I started by releasing a textbook that I made for my class, and that seems to people seem to like it. But uh, I've realized that um, textbooks are a little much for some people, especially if you're online or not. Um, and I started with YouTube videos to get the word out, to get that spread, and those did okay. Um, not complaining, just appreciate everybody who's watched my videos, but it's not really the way I teach. Like if you went to a college class and the teacher just put on a YouTube video and then fucked off, you would probably want your money back. It's not really the full experience. So that's why I'm doing this course, and that's why I'm doing these lectures, because I want to give you an experience that's more similar to what you get if you were actually at an art school, so you can get the full experience. I'm always confused on how to make it look 3D. Is there, like, it's there in 3D space? How do you get better at drawing in 3D? That is what we're going to talk about, or not. We're not going to talk about that specifically today. There's information about that in my book, um, and there's information about that in the course. Today, what I want to talk about is the course overall. Um, why I made the course, how to do the course, what to expect from the course, and why it works, and like some of the specifics as well. So the reason I made this course, and I think I was leading up to this already, is that a lot of the problems that self-taught artists have is that they don't know how to study. So, or there's the resources online, even if the information is good, and a lot of them are of questionable quality of that info, but even if you find the good ones, it doesn't necessarily tell you how to put that into action. And even in my book, I do have some exercises in there. Actually, I have a lot of exercises in there, but it's not really a full study plan. So the purpose of this course is to teach basic drawing skills, but it's also to put them to teach a or to demonstrate an effective means of study, so that if you do this course, you'll have developed really good study habits that you'll be able to apply to learning anything else in your art journey. So let me throw this one out to you guys. If you've been trying to learn art online, how what problems have you had trying to put what you're learning into action? How what have you found as far as studying goes? Like the actual doing the study, not just watching videos.
I usually draw a set amount of something that I'm studying.
You draw a set amount of what? Sorry.
Of the object I'm studying, like forms, draw an amount of cubes,
Mm-hmm.
and then an amount of gestures and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Um, I think the issue with that might be the lack of connection between the subjects. Like how do these ideas build together? Um, you have been reading my book, so that should help because it does connect those items. But I know a lot of material doesn't connect. So you learn something one day and then you learn something else the next day, but you don't necessarily connect the two, so it's the building is more slow than it has to be. Would you say that's accurate?
You're exactly right. It's almost a year I've been drawing, and it's been pretty slow going.
Hmm. Um, and partly like drawing, learning to draw is a slow process. That's a big part of that. Even if you have the best teachers in the world, it takes a while. Um, but it could be in a more connected way. So that's what we're going to talk about with the course. So the basic idea of the course is very simple, and that is that you get better at drawing by drawing. There's theory and stuff like teaching you how to do stuff, and that's important and it helps. But the most important thing is to um, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Is to oh, my camera's not on. Where'd my camera go? Whatever. Oh, you know what? It's because I have Zoom open. Um, Apologies. You're just not going to see me talking. So
Uh,
the actually maybe let's see what happens if I close Zoom and then video capture off, video capture on. Yeah, didn't work. Anyway, we're doing this, so let's keep going. Um, so what was I saying? Just got totally lost. Oh yeah, we're learning to draw by drawing. Um, and that's true. Like this, you get better at the stuff you consistently do. Um, but that that can work better in some cases than others. So if you're drawing like a bunch of different stuff every time, like one day you do gestures, one day you do forms, one day you do um, I don't know, you do skulls. The build up is more slow than if you keep doing the same thing and you gain more and more experience at that thing and you learn from when you did it yesterday. Um, so there is a way to get the most out of learning experientially, and that's what learning to draw by drawing is. It's experiential learning. And this is not my idea. This is like teaching science or the stuff they tell you in teacher training. Uh, and we're going to use what's called the experiential learning cycle, not circle, cycle. So the experiential learning cycle, and this is a version that I've adapted to drawing, but it has four stages. And the first is your goal and your plan. So when you're drawing, you have something that you want to say in your drawing. You have some idea of how you want your drawing to look before you do it. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. And you have some idea of how you're going to do it. Like you're going to draw with lines, you're going to draw with markers, you're going to paint, however you want to do this. You have a plan. Um, then you put that plan into action, and that is when you physically make the drawing. And your plan's going to change a bit in action. It's just the nature of reality, right? Like you think you're going to do something a certain way, then you start doing it, and then you realize it's not working, or you realize you could do something different, and plans change. Um, that's the second step. And those always happen when you draw. But the third and fourth step is what makes sure that you're learning. And that third step is evaluation. So this is where you judge how well your drawing met the goal. If you did it right, then, or you did it well, then your drawing is perfect, exactly what you wanted. But since we're learning, that's probably not the case. So you have to compare your work to your goal and decide what's working, like how was I successful in reaching my goal, and what was not working. Where did things go wrong? then you look for takeaways. That's the fourth step. Takeaways. And this is things that you can learn from the previous three steps and that you can apply to your next drawing. This is where you think, okay, this worked. I should do this again. This didn't work. What can I do differently? How can I update my plan so that the next time I draw it turns out better? And if you use your takeaways to inform your goal and your plan the next time you draw, then you've created a cycle. And the more you repeat the cycle, the better you get at the task at hand, at your drawing. So, for example, let's say I'm drawing this chess piece. And my first drawing, my plan is to draw it using lines. This is my first drawing. Now, when I'm evaluating it, I think that it looks pretty good, but comparing it to my goal, which is to accurately recreate what I'm seeing in this chess piece, I notice the bottom's kind of flat, at least compared to what I'm seeing. This is more rounded, this is more flat. And it makes sense to draw a flat line intuitively, right? Because the bottom is flat, but when I'm looking at it, it's actually more rounded. So more like this. Not like that, not straight across. So my takeaway is to draw the bottom more rounded. I do everything else the same, but make it more rounded. So I apply that to the next time I draw. So my plan is to draw with line, and then I remember that I want to make sure I capture the roundness at the bottom. So I do that. And then this is my drawing, and it's better than the last time. I've learned something in this cycle. And now I'll evaluate it again. So maybe the top is too small and the middle part is too long. So that's my takeaway, is to keep more of an eye on the proportions. And then I update my plan. I do it again, and it'll come out a little bit better this time. If you keep repeating this over and over, you learn a little bit every time. That compounds, and you get better and better at drawing. So I just talked a lot. Let me take a pause to get your thoughts or questions to make sure this is clear.
I believe it's pretty clear. It seems more streamlined than what I was doing.
Yeah, it's like it intuitively makes sense, I think. So let's talk about the goal. So a course has to have a goal, like a real course has a goal that at the end of this course you should know this or have these skills. When I make courses for my classes in animation school, that's how they work. We have a semester, and at the end of the semester, I can realistically, like, I know my students are going to do this much work. I can realistically expect them to build this much skill, and I'm not just pulling this out of my ass. I've done this with students in the past. I have an idea of how much they can learn in that time frame. One of the problems, a lot of courses, especially courses. Oh, you can't see my camera, but I was doing air quotes. Is that they don't do this. They'd be like, "This is the how to draw everything course," and you can't draw everything in a fixed amount of time. It's too big. You need to focus on one thing to achieve by the end of the course, and then everything else works towards that thing. So for this course, what I want you to be able to do by the end of it is to draw a relatively simple object from observation and have it look like the thing. So you have the object in front of you, you draw a picture of the object, and your drawing looks like the object. Pretty simple, but not necessarily easy to do. And just to clarify, that's not photos, that's the real object, because it is different, and next week I'm going to explain why it's so important to do this from life. You might be more interested in characters or backgrounds or something else like that, and you don't want to draw an object, you think that's boring, fair enough, but the skills that you develop when you're doing this transfer to drawing from imagination. In fact, I would argue in a separate lecture maybe that you'll never be able to draw from observation better than you can draw from observation because you use the observational drawing skills when drawing from imagination and then add some other skills on top of that. Um, so you choose an object, you draw it, or so you choose an object, you draw it, you evaluate your drawing, you make takeaways, and then the next time you draw your object again, and it gets a little better every time. Um, each week, I'll also give you theory that will add to that so that you'll have a bigger toolbox to draw your object better. But it's the drawing the object repeatedly that gets you to the next level, that gets you better and better every week. So let's talk about how I'm going to use this experiential learning cycle to get you better at drawing. So there's 5 ways that this course maximizes the cycle. Experiential learning cycle. So the first is having a clear goal. The second is having theory. The third is evaluation. The fourth is exercise or exercises. And the fifth is structure. So I've been hinting at these already, but let's get into them more in depth individually. So the goal is drawing the object. If you don't have a goal, like when you're doing the experiential learning cycle, you need to, like your takeaways need to relate to something. Like for this to continuously build, you have to have an idea of what you're trying to do so you can evaluate how well you did. Like if you're shooting an arrow at a target and you miss to the left, you use the experiential learning cycle to be like, maybe I aim more to the right next time. If you don't have a target and you're just shooting arrows randomly, you don't know if your shot's any good. You don't know how to make your shot better the next time. So with this course, your goal is to draw the object so it looks like the object. If your drawing doesn't look like the object, then you can try to figure out why, and then in figuring out why, that's how you get better. Theory, as I've mentioned, is the ideas that make drawing work, that make drawing easier. So, for example, proportion. That's something, or let's use form because that was what the question. You get confused at how to make things look 3-dimensional. So, in this course, in week 5, I want to say, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 5. We'll talk about the theory of how we perceive form and how you can describe form in a 2-dimensional image and make it look 3D. So, understanding that theory will inform your plan in the experiential learning cycle. So your plan is to do the things that make your drawing look 3-dimensional. This leads to evaluation because when you're evaluating your work, you can evaluate based on theory. The theory says that I should be able to do this to make it look 3-dimensional. Did I do that? And does it look 3-dimensional? That's how you can evaluate. So self-evaluation is really important and I'd say necessary for this to really work. But you can also benefit from getting evaluation from other artists. So there is a section of my Discord that's linked in the description that is specifically for the course, and I'll go into this in more excuse me, go into this in more detail a bit later on. But you can post there and ask for feedback. And we've got to, like, I try to get as many as I have time for. No promises that I'm going to get everybody, but I try to do as much critique as I can in the course section. And there's other people in the Discord who are very good and can do that as well. Or people who are beginners, their feedback is still valuable too. So that's evaluation. Exercises are curated experiences that they aim to put theory into practice. So when it comes to drawing, having an intellectual understanding of theory, it's nice, but it doesn't really change the way you draw until you put it into practice with actual experience. So these exercises are designed to, they're like drawings or modes of drawing that kind of force you to apply the theory. And a good exercise will have a full experiential learning cycle. So it'll have a clear goal that you're trying to achieve that's informed by the theory. It will tell you how to put that into action. And you have to actually do the drawing yourself, but you should, like, you can follow demos. There's demos for all the exercises in the course, and that will, so you'll know what to do for your action. They'll have clear criteria for evaluation. That's, again, the theory. You can compare your drawing to how it should look in theory. And then the takeaways from the exercise, you can apply them the next time you do the exercise or to your next drawing. So, for example, let's say that, where is it? There it is. Let's say that this is your drawing. And your takeaway from this is that it looks okay, but the shading doesn't look very good. Hello, wish to be done. The shading doesn't look very good. It's not really capturing the light wrapping around the form. It looks a little messy. So you do an exercise. One of the exercises in the course is value scales that teach you or that apply the theory of value and how to control your value to put it into practice. So this is an example of the exercise where you make areas of value that get gradually darker, hopefully even in an even amount, and doing a blend between them. And hopefully by doing this practice, it's not hopeful, it works this way, you'll get the experience that makes you better at doing those things. You'll have a better understanding of how to apply value and how to control your value. So then the next time you draw, you'll have a better idea of being able to control your values and apply them smoothly. So your values will look better. Your shading will look better. Now, you're probably not going to go from this to this in one exercise, but it moves you in the right direction. And if you keep doing those exercises, you get there. So that's exercises. And the last thing, if I can find the layer, is structure. So this is the big one. This is the organization of the course and how to study. So before I do that one, let me take a breath and give you guys a chance to ask any questions or add any thoughts. Okay. So structure. This is the like. So when you go to animation school or art school in general, there's a structure. You have assignments you have deadlines. So and you have essentially you have a schedule because of the deadlines, and your classmates and your teachers are going to make sure that you follow that. That's structure. Because when you're on your own and you don't have the structure, you might work when you feel like it. Um, and that can work, but it's kind of limited. Like you'll only get so far just working when you feel like it. If you want to get really serious about this stuff, you want to plan your study ahead of time. Um, One of the biggest game changers in my own personal art journey is when I started scheduling my study. So instead of just working on whatever I felt like when I felt like it, I would plan my week ahead of time. So from on this day, from this time to this time, I'm going to work on this. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to create a plan that builds and that is reliable and regular. So if you stick with that plan, then you can have almost predictable progress, predictable improvement. Now, in reality, sometimes you do everything right and you still don't really improve that much. That's just how life is. And sometimes you improve really quickly. But having that reliable structure means that over time, that will be like a reliable, steady improvement if you're studying useful things during that time. So this course is designed to guide you in that structure. So when you schedule your time, I want you to schedule um, I want you to schedule your study sessions, and I want you to know what you're going to do for that session. So I create study blocks in my calendar, and this is what I recommend doing in the course as well. So in the course, if you go to the course website at imaginativedrawing.com/course, you can see example structures, example schedules. Personally, I like to work in 90-minute blocks. To me, 90 minutes is the high end of a time that I can consistently spend focused. It might be great to be like, I'm going to study for 3 hours straight, but after 2 hours, my brain is getting tired and I want to do something else. I need to take a rest. So 90 minutes is a good block for me. This is all recommendation, so scale it to what works for you. If you're new to this, 90 minutes is a lot. So maybe you want to do 30 minutes and then you build. So you do 30 minutes study sessions the first week, you do 40 minutes the next week, that sort of thing. Within the 90 minutes or however long, if you're going to scale this, I divide into exercises. So 30 minutes is exercises. And these get you practicing the theory. They also they're good warm-ups because they prime your brain to start thinking about the theory before you put it into the drawing. Then 60 minutes is drawing your object. And I want you to measure your progress, or not your progress, but I want you to measure your planning and your schedule in terms of time spent drawing, not number of drawings finished. If you do it in drawings finished, you create a perverse incentive to draw faster, and then you end up rushing, and then your drawings get worse, and you don't learn as much as you could. And just because you have 60 minutes, or however long you set your timer to be, that doesn't mean your drawing should take 60 minutes. That just means you should draw for 60 minutes. So if you're drawing your object and 60 minutes hits and you're not done, if you're really feeling it, you could keep going, but you could also just say, this is my 60 for the day. This is the amount of time I have today. And then the next time you study, you do your exercises and you pick up where you left off in your next 60 minutes. If your drawing takes you 25 minutes, then you still have 35 minutes left. So draw it again. Then later on, after you've done your 90-minute block, look away from your drawing, do something else for a little bit to give yourself fresh eyes, and then take some time to evaluate your drawing. Um, and it helps to actually like literally write the stuff down. Like, I think this could be better. I think this worked. It makes it more, it like clarifies your thoughts because when they're just in your head, they might seem clear, but when you put them in words, they get more clear. And then you also can submit your work to get critique on as well. Um, how many study blocks you do a week, that's up to you. I don't know your schedule, how much time you can devote to art. More is better, but of course, you have other priorities in life. Ideally, like if I had all the free time in the world and I was that dedicated to getting better at drawing, I would do 3 hours, 5 days a week. So two 90-minute study sessions, 5 days a week, and a couple days off to rest because rest is important. I know that this isn't necessarily possible for everybody or even desirable for everybody though. So you can do less and still gain from the course. Um, if you're new to drawing, starting with 15 hours a week is actually probably a bad idea. You want to build up to doing a little bit more each time. Because if you go from 0 to 15 hours a week, you're probably going to like stress yourself out or you're going to quit because it's like, oh, this is too hard. You're making too big of a jump in your habits at once for it to be consistent. So start smaller, build up. Maybe do 30 minutes a week if that's a lot for you. Then maybe the next week you can do two 30-minute sessions. That's a big jump. Maybe you can do one 40-minute session and then build up and get a little bit stronger every week if that's what you want to do. Um, I should also say that this is not required to get better at drawing by any means. This is just what I think the most efficient way is. But this course is intended for somebody who wants to take this to put serious effort into getting better at drawing. But that's not the only way to go about this. Um, as far as the length of lessons go, I've designed it to be a 10-week course. Each week has a new lesson and with new theory and new exercises. So you do these sessions for a week and then you move on. So if you only have one, you can only do one study session a week. You do that study session, you do your exercises, you draw your object, and then you repeat next week. If you have more time, that doesn't mean you should do the course faster. It means you should put more time into each week and then you'll get more out of the course. So if you have a lot of time, then you can do a study session every day. So do the exercise every day, draw your object every day, and then at the end of the week, you move on to the next lesson and you do more. You do new exercises and learn new theory. Um, but again, this is just the suggested structure. If you can figure out other ways that work for you or other schedules that work for you, um, that's fine too. Just one more thing to add with the structure is that the drawing the same object it's important to you get better at that one specific object. You also can see your progress because you can compare your drawing of that object to previous drawings of the object. But if you're doing this 5 days a week, drawing the same object 5 days a week might really suck. So feel free to mix it up for the sake of variety, as long as you're going back to your object once a week. Um, so that was a lot of talking again. Any questions? Any thoughts?
What kind of exercises would you do? Would they be in relation to object you're drawing, or just be its own thing?
No. So the exercise you get an exercise. The exercises. Sorry, let me take a breath and get my thoughts in order. The exercises are intended to give you experience with the theory. So each week you'll learn a bit of new theory, and you'll get a new exercise or two to put that theory into practice. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Cool. Um, yeah. Any other thoughts? Not just questions, but like thoughts about the course, about whether you think you could do it, um, whether you'd want to do it, anything like that.
It seems pretty reasonable compared to the other courses I've researched.
Well, that's good. I do try for reasonable, because I was a self-taught artist for a while too, so I kind of understand. There weren't a bunch of courses when I was learning, but I do understand that when you're new to this, you gotta figure stuff out. Um, okay, so let's talk about the Discord group. So I'm doing this live on the Discord, so some of you already know this, but if you're on YouTube, I have a Discord server. It's fantastic. We got a really nice crew of people who are really interested in building their fundamentals. And you can join by clicking the link in the description. That'll take you there. And there is a section in the course or in the Discord group specifically for the course. And there are channels, and I will explain what those channels are for. So, entries is the first channel, not the first channel you'd see, but the first channel you're probably going to use. And entries are for your first drawing. So to enter the course, you do a drawing of your object and you submit a photo of the object. Um, you put that in the entries channel, and then I will give you the role of student in the Discord group. So your name tag changes so everybody knows you're taking the course. Um, the reason entries are so important is this is your baseline drawing. This is where you were when you started. So you can look back and compare when you're 10 weeks down and you're drawing a lot better. You can see how much you've improved. You can put these drawings next to each other. Course critique is where you submit your drawings of your object to get feedback on. I try to do feedback on everybody who submits, and there's other people in the server who are doing critiques as well. And if you're doing the course, I would really encourage you to also do critique. Even if you're a beginner, it still helps to have other people's opinion. And that pays it forward, and that makes sure that everybody is getting feedback. I'm doing as much as I can, but depending on how many people are taking the course, I might not be able to get to everybody. So if you guys are helping each other out, that's going to make the course better for everybody. Um, there is an accountability channel. So this is related to the structure and making sure you actually do the structure. So if you make a study plan, you can post it in the accountability channel, and that's going to make you more likely to follow through, because if you don't, then you've made yourself a liar. I mean, that might be a little extreme, but you put in black and white what you intended to do. It's going to make you more likely to do it, because you don't want your words and your actions to not match. That causes cognitive dissonance. Um, there's also a bot that you can use in that channel to remind you when you said you were going to do the work. Um, so if you decide on your study plan and you post it in the accountability channel and you don't follow through, you're not going to get kicked out of the course or anything. The worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to put some gifts to make fun of you. So that will hopefully motivate you to do what you said you would do. Um, there is an exercises channel. So this is basically like the course critique channel, except for exercises. So you can post in there to get feedback. There is a course help channel, which is for questions about the course. And there is a course info channel, which is read only, and that has all the information I just described in text form. Lastly, there's a wins channel, which isn't relevant yet because we just started the course. But if you do all 10 weeks, post your drawing after 10 weeks, along with your drawing when you started, and a photo of your object in the wins channel. That shows everybody how much you've improved, and that's your diploma for the course. Is this very real proof that you put in the work and you improved, and then you get the role of winner on the server that shows that you completed the course. Um, so as far as the wins go, um, just because you've done 10 weeks doesn't mean the course has to end. So the point of the course is not just to learn the theory, it's to improve your drawing. So if at the end of 10 weeks you feel like you can keep going and keep improving your drawing of your object, then the last two lessons are designed to that you can repeat them. So you can keep going and keep repeating them until you're satisfied that you've improved your drawing, and then that's your win. But that's up to you how much you want to get out of the course. It's self-directed, so how much work you put in and how much you get out is really up to you. Um, and then one last thing is not to. Oh, actually, while we're on the subject, before I forget, of the Discord group, there are also sections on the Discord group for like similar things, but outside of the course. So there's like a general critique channel, a general questions channel, general art chat stuff. So if you want to talk about post art that's not related to the course or ask questions that aren't related to the course, there's a place for that. Anything that's posted in the course section that's not related to the course, I just delete. So uh, there's other sections for that. I want to keep channels for their intended purposes so people can use them. Um, one actually, let me pause again. Um, give you guys a chance to add your thoughts. Okay, so one more thing before I wrap, and that is to make sure that even when you're doing this course, you still draw for fun. You still do the art that made you want to do art to begin with. So this course is all about study and improving your skills, but don't forget why you want to improve your skills in the first place, because that's so important. Um, I would say that if anything, that's more important than your skills, what you have to say. And it's better if you can say what you want to say clearly because you have the skills to do it. But if you don't have anything to say, then it might not be that interesting no matter how skilled you are. So make sure you're taking that time to still do that artwork. That's important to you. Um, that the course is just here to build your skills. It's not the be all and end all of art, and I don't want you to spend all your drawing time on this course. So that's all I have to say for today. Next week we're going to do another lecture on the course. That one's going to go into theory, um, like specific theory about what drawing from observation is, how it works, and how we can improve it, that sort of thing. This was more just how to learn to draw in general and how the course puts that into practice. We do these every Wednesday, 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I do them live on YouTube and on the Discord. If you join the Discord, you can be in the meeting room and speak in the microphone. Um, so if you're into that, please join, and just join anyway. It's a cool place. We got cool people. Um, I have a book that you can download for free. It's a free textbook from my drawing fundamentals class. Um, Covers all of the information in the course, but it's not in a course format. It's more in a textbook format, not surprisingly. And that's free to download at imaginativedrawing.com. Um, if you want one on one feedback and lessons from me, you can book me for one on one mentorship. I have slots available. Um, you can learn more about that at imaginativedrawing.com/mentorship. There's a little calendar app that you can book me directly on there with that. And there's also information about that on the Discord. Before I wrap, uh, give you guys a minute to add any thoughts, questions, etc.
Sounds like a good course.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, well, thanks everybody for coming out. Hopefully, I'll see you next week. I'll see your artwork for the course in the Discord channel. And have a good night. Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye.